And now back to the fiery trial of Saddam Hussein. Some verbal fireworks in that courtroom today.
موجودين يشهدون.
أنا نعم لا يقاطعني شوف. أنا أولاً في عمري.
There he is, the butcher of Baghdad, defiant as ever. This time he was yelling at the judge, literally. He was demanding his rights, and he was telling the world that he is not afraid to die. Joining us now is Peter Becker, who's former staff attorney for the International Court of Justice in The Hague, and Paul Williams, a law professor at American University. He's the author of Peace with Justice, War Crimes and Accountability in the former Yugoslavia. Welcome to both of you, gentlemen. You know, the headline here, Peter, if I could start with you, seems to be the theatrics of Saddam Hussein. So I want to start with that, although there was some real substantive stuff happening in that courtroom today as well. What do you make of what's going on between the judge and Saddam?
I think he's in command of this trial, and that's only natural for this kind of trial, which is what is called inquisitorial. The judge asks the questions, and he decides on motions. And so when he asked for written submissions, that's exactly how we should rule on this issue of legitimacy, for instance, that came up. Actually, the former U.S. Attorney General brought it up.
But you know, Paul Williams, he did ask for those written submissions, but then it's my understanding that they walked out. Ramsey Clark and the rest of the defense team walked out, and then they were able to work something out. Does that make this judge look a little weak up there?
Well, Martha, I think you've hit the nail on the head here. This was a very, very important day today for this trial. And what you have is the Iraqi judge, essentially as a metaphor for Iraqi society, trying to control and constrain Saddam Hussein, who for decades saw himself as the father of Iraq and basically had his will done in Iraq. I give the judge high marks. He has Saddam Hussein recognizing his authority, granted it's fits and starts, a few violent outbursts, but you see the Iraqi society, the judge, basically putting Saddam in his place and beginning that psychological transformation both of Saddam and, importantly, for the Iraqi people themselves.
Well, that's so interesting when you talk about that psychological transformation and you watch this man who was a brutal dictator in his country. And today, the most moving piece of video that we saw today was this man from Jajal who talked about what happened in his town, and he broke down and he wept. And it's the first time that we've seen somebody actually confronting Saddam Hussein with some of these atrocities. What did you think of that, Peter?
I thought it was extremely important, especially for the Iraqi people, because this person actually placed some of the accused at the scene. And for instance, Ibrahim, who's one of the co-defendants, was told to be there at the scene as the head of Iraqi intelligence. As a matter of fact, he said, "I'm a patriot. I am the head of Iraqi intelligence." I don't think that was very smart of him, because that's incriminating against himself, of course.
Paul, Saddam Hussein said, "I never laid a hand on anyone," and one of the challenges for the attorneys here, the prosecutors, is to tie Saddam Hussein directly to these crimes. Do you think that they're going to have any trouble doing that?
No, the Iraqi government has a fairly clear-cut case here with Dajjal, and I think what you're seeing is they're today starting from the bottom up. They're laying out. Mohammed Saeed had very detailed examples of atrocities that were committed against him and others. He's initially sort of delegitimizing Saddam Hussein and his reign of terror, and over time they'll start to call other witnesses, and apparently they have quite a bit of written testimony that they'll put in which links Saddam through the chain of command to these atrocities.
Well, it's a fascinating process, and we're going to continue to watch it unfold with your help. Peter Becker, Paul Williams, thank you.
Thank you, Martha.
Pleasure.